it's a level of anxiety that comes from what we call unconscious biases, or implicit biases. Implicit biases are stereotypes that have essentially become negative stereotypes that have essentially become embedded in our brains and become embedded in our bodies. I think the conversation we just heard from Professor Wolf around capitalism and exploitation, to me, correlates obviously to the way we've all been trained around race, right? That race is a social construct because it was a justification for this very economic exploitation. But the reality is race in this day and age is much more than a social construct. Indeed, it's an emotional construct. It's a physiological construct. When we hook people up to MRIs and heart rate monitors and respiratory monitors and flash images, particularly of young black boys, you can chart the anxiety going in their bodies. There's a part of our brains called the amygdala that enlarge. Our heart rate increases, our respiratory rate increases. You look at that in our social spheres. And there was a great study called The Fourth Grade Menace that looks at what's happening to young boys of color between third and fourth grade. Essentially, oftentimes we see them dropping academically. And when they controlled for all of the factors they could, what they realized was that from K to 3, the teachers thought the boys were all equally cute. And then when they hit fourth grade, they kind of hit puberty, they started to project the fears of older men of color onto the kids, and then their discipline rates would change. Their ability to engage and teach them would change. And then, at least in New York State, we start thinking about how many prison beds we'll need based on third grade reading scores. So we watch how our